Hi, it's Pete Cohen here, and welcome to episode 155 of the My 365 podcast series. Today's podcast is called How to Defy the Aging Process. Now, I'm sure that's something that everyone wants to do. Everyone would like to be as healthy and as well as they possibly can be, but of course it comes at a cost. All I have seen in my life is too many people that are not growing old gracefully. They're growing old very poorly because they're not utilizing the vehicle that they have. They don't really know what they're doing, and they give up in many cases. You don't need to give up. You can be so much more healthier. You can have so much more energy. And today you're going to be hearing from a great friend of mine and a colleague, Mr. Colin Deans, who is teaching people all over the world how to defy the aging process. So if you want to grow old brilliantly with an abundance of energy, you really want to listen to this podcast. So get ready to be inspired as you listen to episode 155 of the My 365 podcast series, How to Defy the Aging Process. So it's episode 155, and this episode is called Defying the Aging Process. I am absolutely over the moon that I have my friend and my colleague, Mr. Colin Deans. Colin, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Pete.
Thank you so much for joining me. We've obviously got a bit of history, so maybe we should just start off with that. The history is, well, you tell me. How do you know me?
I know you because I was a gym manager in 1989. I think you were a student.
I was a student.
Doing sports studies or sports science.
Yes.
And
basically he employed me.
And I recognised your potential, Pete, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I took you on as a gym instructor.
You saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And what we're going to talk about is, defying the aging process, because I don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't really want to defy the aging process. But what's really interesting for me is that when in 1989, I said this to you yesterday, that in fact 2 years prior to that, a lecturer at the college I was at told me I had a body of a 50-year-old, and I was it wasn't a very nice thing to say, and it really made me even more self-conscious than I already was. But then when you employed me as a fitness instructor, I started working with people. I started training with you, and the training I did with you was not in the gym that I was working at, and we trained in a completely different way to how we were encouraging people to train.
Okay.
But the way I was training with you, it changed my body completely. But I think people are under this illusion that you can never, as the older you get, the more difficult it is, or you can't change. Can we actually defy the aging process?
Well, we can, but we've got to realise what changes have occurred. When we do get old, everybody gets old. Things change. I work with people who are usually over 40 years old, is what my normal clientele are, and they feel old. So when you ask anybody, how do you feel old, they will start by saying aches and pains.
Yes.
That's the normal one. So I get up in the morning, my back hurts, my knee hurts. When that starts to occur, people slow down.
Yes, because I think there's not many role models for people who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s who do actually look good, like they look after themselves. So, it's hard, isn't it, to find what is the right way? Do you think a lot of people I think they just give up and they just think, oh, there's nothing I can do, it's all downhill?
A lot of people do give up. This is the point. They start to see things happen in the body. The aches and pains go. That encourages you to do less.
Yes.
And when you do exercise, for a lot of people hitting their 40s, it actually hurts because they're doing the same thing as they were when they were 20 or 25, and people give up sport for the same reason it hurts. So rather than looking for a solution to that, they think they can't do exercise or they can't do enough of it, so they just give up.
Yeah.
Along with that would be the usual eating. You can't eat the same things you did 25 when you were 25, when you were invincible. The body does change how it basically copes with the food, how it copes with your hormones. The hormones change. Everyone knows the change of life, but it's for men and for women. And when these things happen, we have to adapt and put a lot of variables in there.
Yes.
And we can slow down the inevitable process. That's the point. There's lots of things you can do to slow down the process.
And that's what you specialise in doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got some great results with people, but probably one of the best results is actually with yourself, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
Not just because obviously you've always exercised, but you were hit with a few challenges a few years ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I basically was hit with a few challenges, but what hit me was I'd been healthy and fit all my life. I've been telling people what to do all my life. I've been telling people you to do this, eat this, do this, and you will avoid this. And I used the word avoid probably out of context. The point would be is the chances of anything happening to you or illnesses like cancer, heart attacks, whatever, are reduced if you look after yourself. So good lifestyle choices. However, I'm here to tell you, it lowers the odds, but things can happen to you.
Yes.
And I suffered a stroke in 2015, on New Year's Eve, and I had, prior to that, there was no symptoms. I had no lifestyle issues attached to that, and I was hit with a severe stroke that almost killed me.
Yeah, which was, how did that make you feel? What was that like for your kind of self-confidence?
It was devastating. It was, I mean, to wake up in intensive care on New Year's Day and just wonder what on earth happened to me and why to me and how to me, and after my whole life of being healthy and fit, what happens now? How on earth did it happen? But I took that and I really had to go into a few places in my mind to figure out what to do next. And as the neurologist spoke to me, he said, "You're very lucky, Mr. Deans. Your recovery is phenomenal."
Because you were fit.
Because, that's right. So it didn't stop me getting what I got, and I'll explain why I got it in a minute. We're not lifestyle related, but my recovery was because I was so healthy and fit. Otherwise, it could have killed me or left me severely damaged.
What's so interesting about people when they get sick is it seems to do one of two things. It can be a massive wake-up call for some people, and for others, they just think, well, what's the point? I can't be, it's going to happen. There's nothing it's out of my control. But for you turned it round, right?
Well, I did, and just like you said there, I can tell you right now that people that knew me and people that I had trained, they actually thought when they saw me out of the stroke, well, if it happens to him.
Yes.
Rather than inspire them at the point, they think, well, what the hell, why would I do any exercise then? Why would I do anything nutritionally? Yes. Why would I do all these things if it's going to happen to Colin? However, I had to take that dark moment and say, right, I'm going to recover. And not only am I going to recover, I'm going to recover and be in a better state, and really put the message out there that these things can happen, but it's how you recover and how to live your life.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you've been teaching people to defy the aging process for years, and then all of a sudden you were hit with a massive challenge of, right, well, can you defy the aging process now, being hit with this stroke? But so you got yourself back into shape.
I did.
And then what happened? If that wasn't enough.
If that wasn't enough, and I was into really looking after myself and putting it into balance, because a stroke, I mean, it doesn't matter what you say, a stroke damages your brain.
Yeah.
So it damages quite a lot of cognitive function, it can damage physicality, but I recovered particularly well. And then I discovered a lump on my neck, just about there. I wondered what it was, I had no idea. I went in and I was diagnosed with throat and mouth cancer.
Yeah. So again, that wasn't as in a genetic thing, was it? That was a viral cancer.
No, it was a viral cancer. Again, no lifestyle related. So I have no symptoms, nothing I'd done. I wasn't a smoker, not a heavy drinker. Again, good diet, good nutrition, the usual. So there was nothing there to point out this one. And they tested me and I had what's called the HPV virus, which is responsible for 85% of women's cervical cancer. And women don't know that because now we get, obviously there's immunology involved in that. Young girls get immunisation.
Yes. So how did that hit you?
Well, it knocked me for 6p. That first thing you want to know with any kind of cancer is how did I get it? Why did I get it? You've got to basically, again, the thought process is why me? You do feel sorry for yourself. But I did have the HPV virus. It did present itself there. So the next thing is what's going to happen? How am I going to recover from it? Is it recoverable? What are the odds?
What did you find the odds were? What did they?
Well, I was told that there's a good chance of recovery because there's two places it happens. It basically will present itself into my throat. Then second place it will normally go would be into your lymphatic system. Yeah. And the third place is into your lungs. And they got it in my lymphatic lymph node. Yeah. It didn't get to my lungs. So there's a good prognosis.
So you'd got yourself back in shape and then you were hit with this. And then what happened? What were you told in terms of what treatment that you were going to have?
Well, I had to get a very intensive chemotherapy and radiotherapy for 6 weeks. And to be honest, I knew a little bit about cancer, and everyone else does, but the treatment was just terrific.
I mean, I saw you before. I think I saw you towards the end, and at the end of the treatment. What was that like? Because
I lost approximately 2 stones in weight. That's a pretty slim guy anyway. So to lose 2 stones, and I lost about just over 1.4 pounds in 10 days. And I can tell you now that was because of cortisol and lack of growth hormone. And that your body goes into a catabolic breakdown of muscle when it's in crisis. And I was in metabolic crisis with the treatment, with the chemotherapy specifically.
But you couldn't eat, you couldn't drink?
Because of the particular type of cancer I had, that ulceration all down the throat and in the mouth, and sores. And so your whole gums are infected as well. Everything's infected, and it's agony. And towards the end of the treatment, I had to go on morphine as well, simply because the pain was so horrific.
Yes.
So the amount of calories and the amount of food I was trying to get in there, it's all liquidized. I mean, no way you could do any food.
How did you deal with that? I mean, what was it really like in the darkest of moments? I know you made a film that in our Facebook group that many people watched, and that must have been a big. I think it's hard sometimes to admit, that we're weak and we're vulnerable. But what did you learn from? No, what was it like? What was that whole experience like for you? How low did you go?
Pretty low. As you'd expect, most people that have that kind of illness is pretty low. So will I ever get better? That's what you say. Will I ever get a point of, back to normality of sort? Will I have the energy? My energy was zapped. 3 children.
Yes.
My job, my work. You think, really, can I get back to normal? I mean, the chemotherapy, particularly for me, was so toxic that your days just melded into one. You couldn't concentrate. I couldn't listen to music. Couldn't watch anything on TV, couldn't do anything, couldn't concentrate at all. The chemotherapy literally poisoned you.
Yeah.
It was poison. And I literally, the route I took obviously was a conventional route, which is the radiotherapy and chemo. I didn't have much option, monetary wise, when I was going with it, but I tried to really support that as much as I could. My wife was just phenomenal and trying to get me and support me through, again, really dark times, good conversation, just being there, just making sure the family are there beside you. That is a phenomenal support for me. Yeah. And
so what was driving you forwards? I mean, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you can see there's a poster behind. For those of you that are listening on iTunes, obviously you can't see it, but it says, a big why will conquer any how. What was your why in terms of wanting to get better?
I want to get better. I want to get well for myself, but for my family.
Yeah.
I really want to. Unfortunately, my story is, unfortunately, my father died of cancer when I was a young boy, and I saw him die, and he died in the house, and he had...
you said it yesterday, it took 2 years.
2 years to die, and he faded away in front of my very eyes. I knew this particular cancer with a good chance of cure. I did as much as I possibly could, mentally, physically, as much as I could to really support my body to get through this as well. And I firmly believed I was going to get better, and I basically want to be alive, to enjoy life, but I really want to basically give it to my family.
Yeah, but also now with the people that you work with, because the whole defying the aging process, it's kind of strange. Do you feel that it's been a bit of a blessing for you in terms of...
Well, it is one of these strange things. Now that you've gone through it, you understand a lot more of people's suffering, and really things that can take you down out of nowhere, can knock you down like a car crash, or just out of nowhere. Yesterday was fine. Today is horrific. Your whole world has just been destroyed. It's just been pummeled down, and you don't know where to go. And then you've got a journey, to either rehabilitate or get better. And I'm here to say is you can. And not only can you get better, you can come out the other side a different person.
Seeing you yesterday was the first time I'd seen you in a while, and when I came back, I just finished speaking to someone, and you had your shirt off. I mean, you look just incredible shape. You were exercising this morning. Which is amazing. So now, where are you going now? What are you doing right now in terms of the work the incredible work you're doing with people and helping people defy the aging process?
Well, exactly that. I'm trying to work with people who feel old, who have basically had some things with them, and some baggage as well, and work through the things that I've been working through as well. I've learned a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah, so tell me about some of the stuff that you've learned. What's been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
The biggest lessons is you can't be hard on yourself all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a journey. And what I mean is that people want results now. Nothing's going to change when you're 25 to you're 35 to you're 45. People want results now. And that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
You have to be slow, you have to be methodical, you have to really have a route to where you're going.
Yeah.
And then take ownership.
It's funny when you say about having a route, because ultimately there is only one destination, right? Which is death.
Yes.
And obviously death is, like I said, it's been a big part of my life. It's a part of everyone's life, right? Because we will see people die. And having spent a lot of time in hospital recently with my dad, I saw all of these people that were there suffering, and like you said, your dad suffering. When, I don't know about you, but when I leave here, I just want to pass away in my sleep.
Yeah.
You know, die of old age as opposed to dying of some horrible disease.
Yeah, things that decay you, basically. Take away your self-worth, take away your dignity. Nobody wants that.
So, but is it really possible for people to, I mean, obviously you can't predict.
You can't foresee everything. You can't predict it. What you can do is lessen the odds.
Okay, well, let's talk about a few of the issues that people have when they're in their 40s and 50s. Yeah. So one is definitely the gut that you see pretty much nearly everyone. I mean, can people actually get rid of that?
Yeah, they can. They can. It's difficult for them because they have to change a lifestyle.
Yeah.
One thing you can't do is get rid of it through a few abdominal exercises or a little bit of exercise. For most people, it is nutritionally based. And nutritionally based is, people have to really understand this. I don't just mean lack of calories and nice little fruit and veg. I believe fundamentally it's hormonally led.
Yeah.
The hormones dictate everything, and your change of life for anybody. And we have something called a biological age and your chronological age. And, excuse me, your chronological age is your actual age. I could be 40. How you lived your life depends how your bodies cope with it. So if you drink a lot and you smoke a lot, your body will have decayed a lot further. So you'll have an older body, shall I say, biologically, you're 50.
Yeah.
You can change the biology of what you're doing. Now, if we put it into context, is right now, Pete, you're in your late 40s.
Yeah, 48. Yeah.
48, yeah. So when you were 40 years old, you had a different spine.
Yes.
You did not have the same spine. You've had every single cell in your body has been replaced for your spine. And of course, your spine is now a 48-year-old as opposed to a 40-year-old, as it was different when you were 35. Things change. Now, when things change, your body can't replicate exactly everything. So that's why the collagen will go down, for argument's sake. You get wrinkles in there. You can't replicate it, or it tries its best to replicate it, but not all. Now, the replication of every single biological cell will be in how you feed yourself.
How you feed yourself.
How you feed yourself nutritionally, mentally.
Yeah, because that's another type of food, isn't it? We feed ourselves with our thoughts.
Absolutely, and sleep.
Yeah.
And sleep is massive. It's absolutely huge. Now, what happens, I would say, in the typical menopause for women, but you have the male menopause, which obviously is not nearly as dynamic, shall we say, or intrusive, but it still happens, which means hormones decrease and increase accordingly as a ratio, which is key. It's not trying to be over smart here, but it's actually quite a simple one. So the take thing for men particularly is growth hormone reduces when you get older, and testosterone reduces when you get older. Now, growth hormone at the time was one of its big jobs to increase your metabolism for protein, to hold on to protein, muscular growth and bone growth.
Yeah.
When you're a child, obviously it wants you to grow. Growth hormone has a different role when you're an adult. When you get to about 35 or 40, it starts to reduce, which means you don't hold on to the same calories, and you start to put on body fat. And the body fat can be associated with testosterone and growth hormone.
Yes.
And again, stress comes into it, so you have cortisol there, and cortisol is a great hormone from the adrenal glands. It does a great job. If it's there for too long, it does the opposite.
So you're like I wouldn't say a mad scientist, but you are someone who loves science, but you love the application.
Absolutely.
And this is where, when someone comes to work with you, you're really kind of looking to see what is going on, because everyone is different, right?
Yeah, of course. Totally.
And when we're young, I suppose, if we're training, we can probably do most types of training and get a result, but as we get older, what we do needs to be much more specific.
Absolutely. And this is key again for us when I work with my 45-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 55-year-olds, and of course older clients, 65, 70. The one thing I'll do a lot of the time is what I'm doing right now, which is sitting down and maybe standing up.
Yeah.
And the one thing you forget to do to move is to get down to the floor and get up. And we're designed to move. We are designed to move. And if you don't move, everything gets restricted. So my analogy would always be is you start off in the womb, in the fetal position, you come out the womb, and then you start to stand up, or Homo sapien, sapien. And then what happens when you get older, you go back to...
So we need to do everything that we can to keep open.
Everything to open up, and everything designed to get down to the floor to get back up again. And that, for a lot of people, restricted movement is a huge part of what I do, body weight movements, and getting down people up from the floor and up again, down to the floor, up again. Using their body weight, which is usually enough for a lot of people to get the strength back up, to stimulate testosterone, to stimulate growth hormone, and to get them using the heart and lungs as much as possible. So you're reminding the body what it did when it was younger, and this is why you define the aging process. You're not allowing it to go into this old age, screaming and shouting. You're bringing it back to remind it. And you, by the way, you've got muscle memory. Your muscles remember what they did. Your joints remember what you did. A lot of things, people just feel a bit sore, a little bit. So a lot of it is non-specific, which means you do not have.
So people often almost try to work it out themselves, but when it comes to defining the aging process, what are the different areas that we need to look at? So nutrition, our physiology, how we're moving.
Yeah, well, anatomy and physiology, shadow of a doubt, that's where you want to go with that. And again, the intensity of the movement is key as well.
But right in the middle of all of this is it's all about hormones, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, again, the exercise I give you or talk about there is trying to stimulate the right hormones to get a result.
Yeah.
Your hormones control everything. Your hormones will control the amount of body fat you have. So you must have, everyone's heard this before, are you in what phase of the hormones are you in? Hormone releasing, fat loss, are you in fat storing, or are you in maintenance? And it's the hormones decide, I will release the body fat as energy, or I will store it. And it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. Yeah. So you've got to convince the body to get the hormones to work. The hormones regulate everything. Your mood, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, which is everything from there. And we know the relation to the gut as well. We know this, we know about the biome, the gut health. We're talking about this one. We know the enteric system now, the gut is linked to the brain. We know it's not just linked into the immune system.
Yes.
We know it's brain. It's basically how you feel specifically is linked to your gut. And we know there's more gut bacteria than our cells in your body, so we're talking trillions. We know the average amount of gut bacteria is over 4 pounds in body weight.
Yes.
We know the gut bacteria basically has a fight all the time. I wouldn't say good and evil, but the point would be is the amount of people that have gastrointestinal issues, from IBS, constipation, diarrhea, whatever it be. Your stools tell a story. Two things tell a story. Your stools tell a story, and your eyes tell a story of what's going on in your body. And your gut health is brain health and immunization, immunity. And so the immune system is key. So a big thing that I do is look at the fermentation process, is look at probiotic and prebiotic. And prebiotic, of course, literally for most people is raw food.
Yeah. So people used to say you are what you eat, and then I heard someone say, no, you are what you absorb. And then I heard someone who we're both a big fan of, Dr. Rakowski, say, no, you are what you eliminate. You are what comes out your ass. Pardon my French, but that's where you get to see what someone's health really is all about.
We basically not quite the same as the Germans. Like there's a German toilets when you go for a poo.
You can have a good look.
You can have a good look, and again,
in America they have those toilets.
There's a brilliant one called the Bristol Stool Chart, and again it's 7 poos as it were, and it shows you 3 and 4 right in the middle where your poo should be looking like. Yeah. Either side of that is something's going wrong with that.
So tell me, is it worth it? I mean, one of the things I have this vision of, I mean, I would have no issue taking my top off now and showing my torso to the world. I'm not obsessed like I used to. I mean, I used to be addicted to exercise, which is another story of why we get addicted to it. But I'd exercise 2 or 3 times a day. I'd spend like an hour working on my chest.
That's hormones again, that's endorphins kick in, that's that lovely feeling you get when you do it, the pain, or kind of a strange pain and pleasure you get, that's endorphin kick in. I mean, again, one of the things I have with the fitness industry is they have this huge list of things that you're going to have when you exercise. And I would say for most people that exercise, the list is about that small. This big list you have here for people that can...
Well, we just do what we know, we do what doesn't often challenge us too much. But as you know, I got diagnosed with chronic fatigue for 10 years. I literally burnt out because I didn't know how to manage my energy. That's probably why you employed me, because I was just so part of the reason, so full of energy, but I didn't know how to, and I've had to learn. I've had to learn how to change my diet. I've had to learn how to meditate, to activate, the different response in my body, not the fight and flight response all the time that so many people are firing off.
Peaceful state.
To be, yes.
Yeah. And quiet.
You see a lot calmer person than me now, right, than you saw years ago.
Well, phenomenal. You've always been focused, Pete.
Yeah.
And I see a massive difference. I see, yeah.
But that's because I've had to adapt. But that's what, you're brilliant at doing. And that's the other thing. People are very fortunate to be able to work with you because, you worked with trainers for years. You used to train personal trainers to become personal trainers. But is it worth it? Is it, for people who are in their 40s and 50s, is it worth it? Why not just have that extra, pint or that glass of wine or eat that pizza or eat that ice cream and not exercise? Is it worth it? Is it really worth the effort that is needed to look after yourself?
Well, that really is up to the individual. And I only really work with individuals who want to make a change because they're seeing a change they don't want to see.
Yeah.
And they've got to decide it because it does take a lot of resilience. It does take effort. You always put a warning sign on there to make the changes. Is your body's going to resist it.
Yeah.
But if you want it, and we don't want a zealot, I'm not looking for that at all. I'm working the changes to make sure the body slows down and defies the aging process, the speed at which you're aging.
Yes.
We want to see these people feel better, and it's all about the feeling better, and coming with that is looking better, and again, self-worth, self-confidence. A lot of people I work with are very, they're good, could be corporate, whatever, they're successful at what they do, but they're not successful at looking after themselves.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Greeks. Obviously the ancient Greek philosophers, they were very much into knowledge, but they were also into the body and being strong and being powerful, and that seems to be lost. And you're right, it's never too late to start going to work on yourself and have more energy and to be stronger and healthier. We've got this amazing body that wants to grow, it wants to get better, but it needs our help. And yesterday, obviously you came here last night, and my father-in-law, who's operating the cameras over here, he saw one of your tires was down. So we pumped the tire up and it started coming down again. It's a slow puncher. My point is that if there's something wrong, and you said, well, when I go home, I'm going to have to take that to the mechanic, you want to do it on your own? Well, good luck. If you want to do it properly, then find someone who can help you. Mechanics help people with their cars, architects build things for people, but ultimately, why try and do it all on your own? And I just think there are more people needed like you in the world who are standing up for, look, you don't have to accept the gut, you don't have to accept the health, the fact that you've had a stroke, or the fact that you've had any condition. There's always something you can do. So how do people find out about you? Because I know that you do consultations with people so they can start to understand where they are and how they can start to defy the aging process. How do people...
Well, I've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
10 years younger.
10 years younger.
10 years younger.
Yeah.
And I've got a website.
What's your website?
10yearsyounger.com.
But 10 years younger spelled. We'll put it in the show notes.
It's 10-yearsyounger.com.
10-yearsyounger.com.
Yeah.
And what would you say to people out there that, people maybe who are kind of, they're just not sure about starting to get themselves back in shape?
Have a chat. You can contact me, have a 5-10 minute consultation, just have a chat of where they are, what I can do, or what's available for them.
Yeah, because you just want to empower people to...
Well, I do. I really do want to help people. But again, not the but, it's a case of they've got to understand what they've got to do as well. So it's a contract between us as such.
Yes.
So
because it doesn't have to be all day, every day either, is it?
Not at all, not at all. But they have to embrace something here that makes a difference. And again, it depends on the goals, depends what they want to get out of it. How much they want to get out of it has to be depending on how much they put into it, like everything else. I'm a conduit to all that, of course, and I can direct them there. And there's really for my clients, I really want to empower them with some knowledge why I'm doing something. I'm not just doing it for the sake of doing something. It's to get closer to where they want to go.
Yes.
Or it could be because of that's a particular weakness. You know, we all have weaknesses, and the truth would be is the best thing to get good results is working your weaknesses first, not your strengths.
Well, my challenge to everyone that's listening or watching this is to make a commitment, 100% commitment of how you want to exit this life, you know? Yeah. And I'm sure most people would like to exit this life just in their sleep, you know? Just
well, one of my oldest clients is 77. And I've got to say, he's 10 years younger. I think he's probably 20 years younger.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take full credit for that, by the way. But he is.
Why? He will take full credit for it.
I know, I want him to take credit for himself. Yeah, but he's just an extraordinary 77.
But that's another thing that you're all about, is getting people to take ownership, because it's theirs, right?
Absolutely.
You're the
and so, again, to take a client through it, but I want them to take responsibility for it, and then they take ownership whether I was going to be there or not.
Yeah.
So they can carry on with it. There's a reason for it. They feel the benefit from it. And they can carry on.
So let's see how many people we can help. We can all take our tops off. Obviously, if you're a woman, you might not want to do that, but you know, we can achieve so much more. We can be so much healthier, and it's amazing to connect with you. I can never thank you enough, not only for employing me and giving my big major start in life, but you've always inspired me to take what you've shared with me and share it with other people. So thank you so much for your time today, Colin. I really appreciate it. Let us know what's your biggest takeaway from this podcast. Get in contact with Colin, share this podcast, like it. If you're listening on iTunes, make a comment. If you're watching this on our webpage, feel free to share it. We appreciate you. We will see you next time for another My 365 podcast.